Hey everyone, it's Paul here with Toolmetrics, and first a big shout out to anyone who has subscribed to this channel. I just crossed over 20,000 subscribers and I'm thrilled about it, so thank you very much. What I'm going to show you today is face frame construction and attaching. I'm going to walk through a simple process that I use for putting together a face frame, attaching it to a carcass, getting it flushed up just perfectly on that carcass. And once you have your stock prepped, get it all cut to size. You're going to want a little bit of overhang. I cut mine to an 1/8 inch total overhang, and that assumes a pretty square carcass. That's going to give you wiggle room when you attach it to allow you to flush things up and get it just right. That way, if your carcass is just a little bit twisted, I hope it's not, but you can get away with it. So once the stock is prepped, then you do a layout. Kind of dry fit everything, figure out which is going to be your show face, mark everything, and then next step is to go to pocket hole joiner. This Kreg kit has everything that you need for face frames, and it's not expensive. I'll give you a link to this and everything else down below. All right, I'm going to put one pocket hole in the end of each rail, and that's going to be enough. You don't need to try to squeeze in two, you don't need the extra strength, and the glue that I'm going to add during the assembly process is going to lock everything in and hold it square. So I'm going to set the workpiece in place, centering the hole that I'm going to use. That looks good. Lock it in. And then just use this specialty drill bit with the collar set for the thickness of stock and position that I'm using on the jig. That'll all be real clear in the instructions. But once you have it set up properly, I rarely have to adjust this because I find that most of my face frames are about the same thickness. And then just drill the hole. I'm going to go in about halfway, pull it out, clear chips, and go in one more time. And that's it. That end of the rail is done. Perfect pocket, centered on the rail. I'm going to flip it over, do the other side, and then I'm going to do the rest of the rails. Assembly is super easy with these pocket screws. First, and this is an important step, this adds a lot of strength and it lets you get away with the only one screw because it locks it and prevents it from rotating in the assembly process. So I've got now glue applied on the end grain of the rail, and I'm going to coax it into position. That's what I love about this pocket screw joinery is you can really focus your undivided attention on a single joint. Now that's locked into place, and I'm going to use one of the Kreg screws. Drive it in through the hole in the pocket hole. Bottom it out, and that joint is done. Perfectly flush, very solid. When that glue dries, it will be extremely solid. Now, let me show you a quick tip for drawer placement. I've got a jig that I'm using for the drawer alignment. And I'm going to just set that in place, and that's going to help me establish the spacing for the next rail. Because if you get that wrong, if it's off just a little bit, it'll drive you crazy, especially if it's on there not straight, which, believe it or not, even though these are forced square, you can get a little bit of an alignment problem, and that will look bad when you go to attach your drawers. So that'll just set the spacing of my drawers. All right, then I'm going to just attach the other two rails and we'll flip it around and attach the other style. All right, you noticed I used a clamp to pull that in so that it was perfectly square. Didn't change the visual appearance of that joint at all, so that is a good check because otherwise that would have been a little bit off and I would have had to have done the tweaking on the drawer itself, and this is just a much better solution. I've got the cabinet carcass propped up on some T-bar spacers for easy clamping. And I'm just going to pop a couple of brads into the carcass. And what this will do is give me a point of friction. And I'm just going to cut it off, leaving about, maybe a little under 1/8 of an inch. Just a little nub sticking out there. And this will just prevent the face frame from sliding around as I'm gluing and clamping. Just one on each opposite corner. Now you'll notice that I did not put any pocket holes into the carcass. You can do that if you want to. Some makers do that. I don't, and I've never had a problem. This glue is going to be more than adequate to hold the face frame in place. All right, I'm going to set it into position and make sure that I am splitting that 1/8 inch evenly across the two sides. All right, once you have everything set in place, start by putting a clamp over one of the nail ends that you clipped off and clamp that just a little bit, not super tight yet because you can see it's starting to rise up over here. All right, then move over to where your other nail is and put a clamp on that one. Check everything, make sure you still have an overhang, flush on your ends, and then you're going to put a bunch of clamps around the perimeter. All right, there are a few different ways to get the face frame flush with the carcass. One common way is to use a flush trim bit, and that works pretty well. It certainly is fast. The reason I don't normally do that is because it can oftentimes leave a mark on the cabinet that needs to be sanded, and if you make one slip, it could ding, and then you're dealing with a repair situation. So I don't do that very often. Once in a while I'll do it, but normally I do most of the remover with sanding. In some cases I will use a block plane and get it close and then finish up with a sander. That's what I'm going to do here. All right, I took that down to about a 32nd of an inch, and now I'm just going to make some lines across it. That'll tell me when I get down to flush, and I'm just going to remove the rest using a random orbital sander and some 80 grit sanding paper. All right, when the lines are gone, I know I've sanded flush, and then I'll just check it, make sure there's no fingernail catch along the way. Just keep the random orbital sander flat and pay attention, and you shouldn't have any problem with sanding through the veneer. If you're using really cheap plywood, it'll have a lot thinner veneer. You might run into problems with that, so be very cautious if that's the case. But normally with the veneers that I'm using, I don't have any problem with sanding through. So that covers it. Thanks for watching. Hope you subscribe and come back to Toolmetrics for more woodworking, wood turning, and DIY related videos.